'86 when we heard that they were going to try to develop a church in Charlestown. And
we just, from Good Shepherd, everybody said, well, we needed to have a church in Charlestown. So we said, okay, and finally we got people enough together, Ron Anderson and the Lindstroms, and they got together with whoever it was, the head honcho, and said, let's go. And Ron and Jeff used to go door to door, ringing doorbells and telling people that we were going to have a church, and this is when we were going to meet, and we were going to meet at the library.
Well, the first thing, we went to the first service on July 5th, and it was, wasn't that many people there, but I mean,
Okay. Now, in here somewhere is this supposedly first worship service picture, and it says Don Williams.
Yes.
He led the first.
Yes, he did. He led the first service at the library. Yes, and his wife played the keyboard.
Oh, okay.
We didn't have a lot of music earlier on from the very beginning, and he and Ernie would bring in his harmonica and sit in the back row or in the back seat of all of our venues that we had and play church hymns. And he did it right up until St. Andrew was built.
Kept on coming, more and more people were coming, and finally we outgrew the the library, and then we went to St. James Chapel for the winter. So then we made arrangements with the ambulance building and the people in the ambulance, and we moved there and stayed there until we built our own home.
And what was it like worshiping in the ambulance building? Because I've heard some stories over the years of different things.
Well, it really wasn't fun all the time, because somebody had to go. Pastor Johnson and several of the men,
Arnold was one of them.
and Arnold,
Yeah.
and they had to go up and sweep the building out, and take the trucks out of the building, and we never knew when the alarms would go off.
Once the siren going, the alarm going off, and all the guys all coming and jumping in the ambulance and taking off. They had an organ that had been donated. It was a big old wooden framed organ, and they used to push it back against the side wall.
So that organ came from Reformation, the First Lutheran, was put in their chapel, and they were renovating the chapel. They had no use for the organ. So they asked us if we like it, so I picked up my pickup truck and some heavy timbers and rode to New Britain and hired a moving company to put it on my truck. And we trucked it over here to the ambulance building. And there were a group of men waiting to unload it. And as we unloaded it, we pushed it into the corner, and a mouse ran out of the bottom of the organ and disappeared into the woodwork. And when we moved that organ to St. Andrew, the mouse ran out of the organ again and disappeared into the church. And the question was, after we got rid of that organ, it was again donated to a church up in Maine who needed an organ, a startup church. And that organ was put on a truck and shipped to Maine. And we wonder if the same mouse started from Reformation to First Lutheran to the ambulance building to St. Andrew and to Maine.
During the week, and then they would roll it out, and they would set up the chairs, and they had, I guess, the altar that we have in, the fellowship hall now. Was the
I think
original.
Len built that.
Yeah, Len Anderson.
That was the
built
altar.
it, and that was the altar. They put the robes over, the cloth over it, and everything.
And we said, we're looking for a place to build a church. And he said, well, what about the land across the street here?
Which, I think when we first saw it, I think I said this before, that it was an awful looking piece of land. It was full of vines and broken down trees, looked like a jungle, but it turned out to be, I think, probably one of the nicest spots in the town.
And we came over here probably more than one Sunday, probably 2 or 3 Sundays, when this was just a barely cleared lot.
Yeah, it was woods, yeah.
Stumps and stubbles and...
Yeah.
People came every Saturday morning and chopped brush, and we had rented a chipper, and we went around the property, and people were cutting in front of us and loading and chipping, and we cleaned the ground off fairly well. And then I was in the tent business at the time, and I had a lot of large party tents. And occasionally we'd have a service out here on our grounds under a tent on Sunday morning, especially when the weather was nice in the summertime.
And the first service we attended was when they broke ground here. Right. And then we started going to the ambulance building.
Okay.
It was fun to be a part of something new.
The dedication of our new home, our building right here, which we call our church.
Yeah.
And that was the most exciting day of that I can think of in the church, and really in my own life. That was really something that we worked hard for, and now we can see what we accomplished.
We've always been really proud to be a part of the church that's been so incredibly positive and active in the community.
I'll let you lead.
Summer camp started the first year that we came to St. Andrew, so that would have been the summer of '93. Was just 1 week. There were, however, 38 kids there, which meant that already the first year there were kids from the congregation and there were kids from beyond the congregation, from the community. So summer camp is one of the ways that from the very beginning we really worked at connecting with people who weren't yet here at St. Andrew. We were called to St. Andrew to introduce some new elements into worship, or actually to add a new sort of approach to worship.
You gotta get wet to walk on the water, can't stay in the boat, no place to hide. Gotta take a first step to climb up the mountain, new home waiting on the other side. You gotta get wet to walk on the water, can't stay in the boat, no place to hide. Gotta take a first step to climb up the mountain, new home waiting on the other side. Seed gotta die for the tree to grow, tree gotta burn for the fire to glow, firelight shining on.
The preschool, I think, is huge, having that resource in the community.
We started the preschool in 2003. The best part of our preschool is just the community involvement. I think that's our biggest. The children know all about where they are, why they're here.
What's your name?
Mike.
Do you go to the preschool here?
Yeah.
Is it fun?
Yeah. I'm almost 5.
I think the two most exciting ministry projects that we undertook in the last decade, one was the whole faith in action emphasis. Mission trips for high school kids, local faith in action projects, mission trips to Honduras. This is where we put our faith. The second thing that we did was our whole care team emphasis with Pastor Jim Warner. That has been a huge asset to this congregation in terms of pastoral care, ministry care.
So I see the future being youth, secondly being adults, and thirdly, a big one is Faith in Action program to help our community and all those serving in our community.
St. Andrew is a congregation that has, from the very, very beginning, been outgoing, friendly, welcoming, and interested in making a difference in the local community. It really is evidence that the local church is the hope of the world.